The village of Elders Hollow lay nestled in a hollow, unassuming yet unnerving. The long shadows cast by skeletal trees contorted the landscape under a leaden sky, promising storms that never came. The air thickened with dampness as an oppressive silence took hold of the surroundings, distorting the usual melodies of nature into unsettling whispers. It was the kind of place where time stood still and the mundane felt inexplicably sinister. Unease crept along the cobblestone paths, curling around the quaint cottages like fingers slowly closing. Diana Baker, recently returned to her childhood home after a decade, felt the weight of familiarity thrumming beneath her skin. The town had stood still, untouched by the world beyond its borders, yet something lurking just outside her vision gnawed at her sanity. Shadows danced languidly at the corners of her perceived reality, making her question the solidity of the ground beneath her feet. The last few days had been filled with odd occurrences. The way the animals had grown eerily quiet, how the fog seemed to hang heavy with malevolence, as if it had a will of its own. On her first night back, while she sifted through fading boxes of childhood memories, a distant hum permeated the air, oddly melodic yet dissonant. It slinked through the cracks of the aged floorboards and pulsed against her eardrums, forming words that slipped through her comprehension. She shook her head, dismissing it as fatigue setting in. Was it just her imagination? The mind often plays tricks when confronted with the surrealities of returning home to a place where familiarity breeds unease. As days passed, she attempted to reintegrate into village life. She sat speaking monotonously with Mrs. Grimes, swathed in layers of plaid and tea-stained delusions. Other villagers were equally peculiar, their faces taut with suppressed anxiety, eyes flickering as if watching not her, but watching for something else. The conversations danced around the surface of unsettling calm, rife with veiled sentiments and anxious glances toward the enveloping forest. Diana walked the paths leading into the twisted heart of the woods, where the trees grew thinner and the air hung thick with something palpable yet unidentified. The landscape warped and shifted, imposing shadows twisting into unnatural shapes. The first time she felt it, a prickling bump at the back of her neck, she shook it off, but it returned, resilient as the very foliage around her. Things moved in her periphery, fleeting silhouettes vanishing as she turned, but they were undeniably there, forcing her to confront the thin veneer separating reality from her pulsating fears. Returning to her cottage on one particularly damp evening, she found a strange object by her doorstep, half buried in the bending grass. It shimmered, catching the dusk's diminished light, a slick obsidian stone unlike anything she could describe. Despite trembling fingers and a roiling stomach, she picked it up. Its surface vibrated against her skin, and she felt a strange warmth radiating from within, a heartbeat or something akin. The first sign of dread struck. Her reflection stared back through the stone, but it was distorted, grotesque. A chill twisted through her, stitching an acute awareness of something larger than herself. The next few days morphed into a blur, peppered with disjointed dreams. She wandered the woods, drawn by the pulsing rhythm of the stone. Visions punctuated by starlit skies, where shadowed entities hovered just out of comprehension, their whispers swirling around her mind like haunting lullabies. Diana felt herself spiraling into a maelstrom, the edges of her reality fraying like the leaves falling from dying branches. As she ventured deeper, she encountered more remnants of the otherworldly, a shimmering tapestry woven with threads of stars and darkness, delicate yet overpowering. Her nights grew increasingly restless, her fingers participating in a feverish search for understanding, clawing at journals she had once considered distant artifacts of her past. They were filled with obscured accounts of eldritch madness, villagers once caught up in the throes of something they could hardly name, legends steeped in eldritch lore. Old Scratch, the feast of the unseen. They whispered of star rituals and objects from beyond, singing a haunting chorus, warning yet beckoning. Diana's mental state deteriorated further. Paranoia swept through her veins, overshadowing her rational mind. She no longer trusted herself to separate illusion from reality, a dance with madness creeping ever closer. At the heart of every encounter with the townsfolk, there lay a subtle but palpable hostility. Their eyes became mirrors reflecting despair and dread. The moment she waved a friendly hello, they abruptly turned, murmuring fragmented phrases, exchanges seemingly detached from the world she believed she occupied. The stone became her anchor. She took it everywhere, its simmering pulse a reminder of her unraveling reality. It whispered secrets in her ear, inseparable from the air she breathed, and she could feel its beckoning call reverberate within her mind, stitching together the paranoid fantasies she now inhabited. Up became down, her world twisted and folded. The sky erupted with aberrant colors by day, and at night, the shadows bore witness to unseen prowlers. The boundary between her home and the encroaching woods blurred. Her steps increasingly took her toward them, guided by a force she could neither understand nor resist. One fateful night, detaching from sensible boundaries, she found herself deep in the woods, shunning the light of the moon. The stone radiated warmth in her grasp, pulsing in synchrony with the deafening rhythm inside her heart. Air thinned, whispers coalesced, carrying a cadence that made her skin prickle with both dread and exhilaration. Branches snagged at her clothes like grasping fingers, eager to ensnare her frail psyche in their gnarled embrace. But she pressed on the cusp of an epiphany. In the clearing, the pulsing light of the stone suddenly intensified, illuminating grotesque figures wrapped in shadows, their forms impossibly fluid, shifting with every flicker of light. As they emerged, the realization struck her that they were neither beast nor human. They existed in a realm beyond her comprehension. Their presence stirred echoes of childhood tales, woven through the voices of villagers cast in shadows. Diana's heart thundered as the figures reached out, unfathomable, skirting the lines of her perception. They elongated, arms stretching beyond possible biology, fingers weaving through the air, beckoning her toward the unfathomable. An exhilarating terror pooled, rupturing her last grip on sanity. The stone vibrated violently in her hand, sighing secrets of an existence beyond the stars, beyond humanity's fleeting understanding. In that moment, heaven stripped bare, her faith twined with those otherworldly echoes, and she felt belonging among the disquieting familiarity. The whispers crescendoed into a resonant roar, blending with the rhythm of her heart, and she grasped deeper truths, that humanity was but a fleeting ember against the backdrop of a cosmic reality indifferent to life. She plunged forward into the embrace of those shadowed figures, collapsing in on her understanding. The finality was neither euphoric nor painful. There was only a void, an aching absence that swelled to consume her. The quiet enveloped her once more. She had become one with the echoes of the alien chorus that once trembled from her consciousness into the universe. And as the last of her sanity flickered out, Elder's Hollow remained unchanged, a dormant husk ripening under eternal skies, quietly waiting, watching for the next brave soul to fall prey to the ideological depths of what lay beyond comprehension. A whisper witnessing the cosmic horror of existence. The stone lay forgotten, a beacon veiled from reality's eyes, pulsing softly with a warmth that echoed through the tranquil stillness of the night.